Beidou, even today, is still one of the strongest 4-star units in Genshin Impact, both in terms of gameplay and canonically. She battled a powerful sea monster named Haishan for 4 days, and when she finally found an opening, she sliced his head clean off with one swing, and that is actually how she got her Electro Vision. So pretty much, Beidou is a badass, and you should definitely try her out. She's an Electro Claymore user, and personally one of my favorite characters. My favorite thing about Beidou being her elemental skill. Her elemental skill has a press and hold activation. If you do the press, you get some damage and some elemental particles, but it's nothing too crazy. But the hold version has Beidou lift up her sword as a shield, and she can tank a certain amount of hits relative to her max HP. What is really cool about this ability is it has different effects based on if she is hit once or twice, or if you don't get hit at all. It's just basically like you press D. You get a pretty big damage bonus if you get hit twice. That's when you actually get the max damage bonus. But if we take a look at her first passive talent, counterattacking with Tide Collar at the precise moment when the character is hit grants the maximum damage bonus. And this passive talent specifically is what makes Beidou a lot of fun to play for me, because this talent kind of gives you a parry. And you can parry anything in the game as long as you have the correct timing. Nothing is too much for Beidou. Okay, well, I mean... So as I was saying, you can parry mostly anything. So next up is Beidou's Elemental Burst. Her burst makes it so that every time a normal or charged attack hits, it creates a lightning discharge that bounces between opponents up to 3 times, and this burst gets even stronger with her second constellation. And we can take a look at that when we go and look at constellations. Now, Beidou's burst is very powerful when there are multiple enemies, but if you are against a single enemy like a boss, then this burst doesn't really do that much, unfortunately. So if I use her in something like the Spiral Abyss, I make sure to always put her on the side with multiple enemies. And also another thing, you shouldn't be getting hit as Beidou anyways, because you are a complete Giga Chad that parries everything that comes your way. I know you are, but just in case, Beidou's burst also has a 34% damage reduction, which is... that's just crazy. That's just crazy to me. Beidou's burst has a surprising amount of utility and is pretty snapped, especially with her being a 4-star character. So now let's go ahead and take a look at those constellations. C1 is... okay, it gives you a very tiny shield that instantly gets destroyed the moment an enemy just breathes on it, but I will admit it is pretty nice to have at times. C2 is a very big power spike, and it allows your burst to jump to 2 additional targets, so now instead of just jumping to 3 targets, it jumps to 5. When you are proccing this ability like 12 times during the duration of your burst, this really adds up, and I think this is probably the biggest power spike out of Beidou's constellations. Now, C2 isn't required to play Beidou by any means. She's still a strong unit at 0 constellations, but that one is specifically probably the most bang for your buck. C6 is also a pretty cool constellation. During the duration of Stormbreaker, the electro resistance of surrounding opponents is decreased by 15%, so that is more damage. Unfortunately, I don't have it, you know, but maybe someday. Maybe someday. Now, artifacts. Let's take a look at artifacts. Personally, I really like 4-piece Emblem of Severed Fate. I think this is her best set if you have a good 4-piece emblem. 4-piece Thunder Soother is kind of a trap because it is very hard to keep Electro applied to every single target in the heat of battle. Now, if you are just goated with the sauce, Thunder Soother could be better than Emblem, but since Beidou's burst is constantly bouncing around to every target, it's hard to keep Electro applied to every single target. Now, if you don't have a 4-piece emblem yet, you can use a 2-piece combo of any of these sets: 2-piece Noblesse, 2-piece Emblem, 2-piece Thundering Fury, even any of the 2-piece attack percent bonus sets. And when I say 2-piece set attack plus 18%, I mean something like Gladiators. The Echoes of an Offering set also gives this 18% attack bonus. Now, for weapons, R5 Serpent Spine is the only weapon for Beidou. We will not give Queen Beidou anything less than an R5 Serpent Spine. I'm kidding, by the way. Even at R1, this weapon is still very good if you get the Battle Pass. I specifically got it 5 times just for Beidou, don't at me. Now, Wolf's Gravestone and Skyward Pride are very good 5-star weapons if you have them for Beidou. Unfortunately, I do not possess a single 5-star Claymore at all. I've been playing this game since basically this game released. Hoyoverse, please! So yeah, pretty much if you have any 5-star Claymores, most of them are pretty good. You can also use the Fish Sword. This thing is actually just hilarious. Hoyoverse, please make more joke weapons like Luxurious Sea Lord. This is a great free-to-play option. This unfortunately was an event weapon though, so if you weren't playing during the event, sorry kid. But another great free-to-play option that I know everybody has access to all the time is Prototype Archaic. This you can make at any crafting station as long as you have a prototype Claymore that drops from weekly bosses. And also, Rain Slasher is not that bad if you don't have any of these other weapons, but you pull the Rain Slasher. This increases damage against opponents affected by Hydro or Electro by 20%, and that damage bonus also scales with refinements. So if you're running a Taser comp, Rain Slasher is not that bad, because Hydro or Electro should be applied theoretically to enemies all the time. Also, if you want to troll, you can use Sacrificial Greatsword. The enemies will never see the double perfect parry back-to-back coming. Now, the thing that you guys probably came for, team comps. Oh, and also right before I start showing team comps, if you made it this far in the video, why not subscribe? If you are enjoying what you are seeing, I'm going to be making a lot more Genshin Impact content like this. So, you know, why not click the subscribe button? This team comp right here used to be one of my go-tos. This is a Taser comp that is based around Tartaglia taking most of the screen time. We can go in here real quick and then I can show you a quick rotation. Now, the rotation is very simple. All you got to do is you make sure that Fischl is down. You Bennett burst before you Beidou burst, and just make sure you Beidou burst on top of Bennett's burst. And then after that, you can just go to town. You can just do this. You can just do stuff with Child, and look at that. Oh my god, the devastation. Amazing. And that is literally the entire rotation. After that, you just want to use Child for like around 6 seconds so that the cooldown isn't too long on his E. And then you just swap back through the characters, make sure that Beidou's got enough energy to burst again on cooldown. And then you just Bennett burst again, Beidou burst, drop Fischl's Oz, and then you go back to Tartaglia and you do the exact same thing over and over again. Now, the reason why you want to Bennett burst before you Beidou burst is because Beidou's burst can actually snapshot. If you don't know what that means, is basically you get Bennett's attack bonus the entire time that you are in Beidou's burst. You can now walk outside of Bennett's burst and you still have the attack bonus from Bennett's burst. Now, there was a YouTube short that I made that involved this team comp: Sucrose, Dendro, Traveler, Fischl, Beidou. I personally really like the fact that Dendro has buffed Electro so much. And this is actually the team comp that people were specifically asking me the rotation for. So again, this rotation also is pretty simple. The point of this team is to basically just drop everything on everybody else. Everybody's kind of off field, and then you swap to Sucrose, and then you just group everybody together and just nuke enemies' health bars with Beidou's burst. So this is kind of what it looks like. Use burst of Beidou. I mean, you can do any order pretty much of anybody. You can just do this, burst, and then Fischl burst, and then you're just like, cool, now let's group everybody together, throw Sucrose burst, and then now every single one of your auto attacks is constantly applying aggravate, quicken, spread, whichever like point you're at. Everybody's already off cooldown. You just go again, boom, and then oh my god, Sucrose burst is back up already. How is this possible? But yeah, you can just kind of like spam everybody's elemental skill, everything off like cooldown. Now, the problem that some people had with this team is something that I pointed out. There is no healer on this team. But when you have Beidou to fall back on, whenever you feel like you're about to get hit and you don't have another dodge or anything, you can always just swap to Beidou and then parry whatever you're about to get hit with. And the last team that I will show you is another Electro Charge comp. All you do is you swap out the Traveler for Kokomi. So if you have Kokomi, and also this way you have a healer. This is actually the team comp I used a lot before Dendro came out. This team comp, the rotation is just like drop Oz into Beidou burst, you know, then group everybody up. And then you just drop the Kokomi Jellyfish and boom, you know, Electro Charge. Everybody's just getting Electro Charge. You're having a wonderful time. But yeah, as you can see, rotations are very simple. And also, even if you aren't doing the most efficient thing with Beidou comps, most of the time, if you just drop everything and then go to the character that's supposed to stay on field most of the time and just like proc elemental reactions, it just kind of works. So in conclusion, Beidou is a really fun unit. I will always try to fit her in my teams when I can, and I'm also really looking forward to when the Dendro Archon comes out, because for example, right now with this team, I use Sucrose to kind of supplement and then spread Electro as much as I can, because right now I'm using Sucrose as a driver to kind of spread Electro while Beidou's burst is going. It gives me somebody that can normal attack and spread Electro at the same time. So while Dendro Archon's burst is going, you're constantly getting quicken, aggravate, and spread effects. But now imagine this team with the Dendro Archon. Now we have a Dendro Catalyst user who can constantly just apply Dendro. There's never really going to be any downtime. So this way you can actually free Sucrose up to use Sucrose in a different team if you want. You can now use Dendro Traveler and the Dendro Archon, which that's even more Dendro application. Also, you might not need to use as much energy recharge on the Dendro Traveler now because you'll have 2 Dendro units. Or you can even do something like this. Imagine this being the Dendro Archon instead of the Dendro Traveler. You are now always going to be procking aggravate. Like you're going to have 3 Electro units, and you are also going to have your healer. There's a lot of fun things that we can possibly do with the new Dendro Archon. But if you watched the entire video, thank you very much for doing that. It really helps me out. and I will see you in the next video.